I'm not here to talk about my transition. I'm here to kick some fucking ass. Let me tell you something, Dingleberry.
David Perry.
I'm gonna roll up the other women here, and I'm gonna smoke them. I am the strongest woman this state has ever seen.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and today I'm going to talk about some of the reports coming out that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios are casting for their first transgender character for the Loki streaming show on Disney+. For everyone tuning into this video, it's very hard to cover a topic like this without pissing somebody or maybe even everybody off. So if you find yourself upset or maybe agitated at the end of this video, them's the breaks. I gave you the warning. If you didn't want to be upset, you maybe shouldn't have watched it. I'm just being honest here and giving my assessment of the report. First, I'm going to read the article from comicbook.com, and then I'm going to give some of my thoughts on why maybe this is the right platform and some of the obstacles Kevin Feige and the MCU are going to have to overcome integrating this character into Loki. First is the article from comicbook.com's Nicole Drum. The upcoming Disney Plus series Loki may be casting for the Marvel Cinematic Universe's first transgender character. According to a new report from the Illuminerdi, Marvel Studios is looking to introduce Sera as a major supporting character for the series, putting the character in a position to potentially appear in films as well. If the report is true, it would mean that the character would be the first transgender character in a significant role within the MCU. For those who are unfamiliar, Sera was introduced just a few years ago in 2015's Angela, Asgard's Assassin #1. In comics, Sera is an Anchorite, a race of rare and wingless assigned male at birth Angels of Heaven who were kept inside a temple where they prayed for all the angels who had died without having souls. Sera, however, identified as female. She eventually was saved from a monster who attacked the temple by Thor's sister Angela, and the pair married. The report about Sera possibly coming to Loki has interesting timing. Late last year, Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige said in a Q&A that Marvel had plans to include LGBTQ+ characters, specifically trans characters, in their upcoming projects and indicated that it would be happening very soon. At the time, it seemed to indicate that it would happen in Eternals, but a report a few days later walked those comments back a bit. That report in Variety claimed that the comments were not meant to imply that a transgender character would be coming soon, just that LGBTQ+ representation more generally was in the pipeline. And in terms of projects where that LGBTQ+ representation could show up, Marvel has a handful of projects going right now. On the movie side of things, work on Eternals is underway, while on the television side of things, WandaVision is well underway, and a recent report indicated that filming on Loki was imminent, if not already in progress, though as with all things Marvel, there's quite a bit of secrecy around the show's production. Now let's talk about the good first. If you're going to include the character Sera into the MCU, the Loki streaming series is probably the right place to start. Like the article stated, Sera is an Anchorite, a race of wingless Angels of Heaven, who was eventually saved by Thor's sister Angela. It would likely be difficult to fit so much lore, including Heaven, the Anchorites, and Thor's sister, if she's included, into a movie. So the streaming service, the streaming platform, with more episodes, more screen time, is definitely the best way to introduce the character to the MCU. And if the character hits, you can add her to the films later. Possibly in Thor Love and Thunder, which is already set to prominently feature an LGBTQ+ character in a lead role anyway. So while I do believe that's the right platform, there are definitely some challenges introducing the character. Sera and Angela, assuming that character is also introduced, aren't exactly household characters. They're not names that everyone knows. These aren't characters people are clamoring to see on the big screen or in streaming services. And Angela, Asgard's Assassin, the story where she was introduced, isn't exactly well known to most comic readers, let alone an instant classic that people outside of the comic reading realm would know as well. Plus, there were already groans when the premise of Love and Thunder was announced in 2019, where it appears the classic Thor character will be pushed into the background, Jane Foster will ascend to the role of Thor, and one of the main plots is going to be Valkyrie on a quest to find love. Another issue is, Disney is primarily a family brand, and Disney Plus is certainly an extension of that. Loki and the rest of the MCU shows on Disney Plus, are meant to draw in that diehard MCU audience as well, but in all honesty, are Disney's core audience of families and the diehard MCU fans are courting with these shows ready to invest in a long-form trans-lesbian relationship story featuring Sera and Thor's sister Angela. I'm honestly a bit surprised Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios aren't waiting for season 2 of Loki to introduce the character and maybe some of these plot lines. That way they can concentrate on generating great word of mouth and really hooking people on the platform before courting some of this controversy. And not only that, how much of Sera's story arc is going to take screen time away from Tom Hiddleston's Loki character? This show is not even possible without Hiddleston's exceptional portrayal of the character. He is a villain, but he made him so likable, charismatic, even lovable to an extent that people wanted more Loki. He's one of the few villains in the MCU that's actually connected with viewers, so much so that he's headlining his own series. Also, adding Sera and possibly Angela's story arc cause resentment from viewers who are specifically tuning in for Loki adventures. There's only so much screen time available for the characters, and we have to remember there are other memorable characters from the MCU, specifically the Thor movies, that the viewers really liked and they probably want to see in this television show as well. With that all being said, judging by the history of the MCU, and generally speaking with Disney, this is likely to cause some consternation among loyal customers, but no real effects to be honest. I don't see many people who will object to the inclusion of a trans character in the MCU actually dropping Disney Plus or not going to future MCU movies. Certainly not enough to make an impact. At least that's what history makes me think. On that level, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige is probably making a smart gamble. I do not believe enough customers will drop Disney Plus or stop going to MCU movies to make a real impact. On the other hand, there's another group that's far more likely to cause major headaches for Disney. I've got news for Kevin Feige. If he thinks comic fans are man babies, he hasn't seen nothing yet. Internet causeheads take outrage to levels never before seen. I'm not talking normal people who have an opinion who want more representation in Disney or MCU or anywhere where they're consuming entertainment. Everyone has an opinion, and no two people in this world agree on everything. I'm talking about the causeheads who are on Twitter 24/7, outraged about everything, hating anything and everything that doesn't have the exact type of representation, be it race, gender, sexuality, bestiality, whatever it is that is their cause that week that they want to see in entertainment. Ask Black Widow Scarlett Johansson herself. In 2018, she was set to star as a trans character in a movie called Rub and Tug. Causeheads were so outraged that she wasn't an actual trans person, they went online, they caused a huge stink, they harassed anyone and everyone associated with that film's production until Scarlett Johansson withdrew from the project, and the film, of course, was never made because the studio needed an A-list star to attach to a risky project. Mark my words, if Kevin Feige doesn't cast the exact correct person and portray them in the exact correct light, according to a very small group of outrage-fueled causeheads, he'll get crucified. And nobody in Hollywood, none of his friends, none of his peers, none of his colleagues will defend him. They are all scared shitless of these outrage mobs. They do not want them coming after them as well. They will leave him as he sits on his own personal cross and is brutalized by a very small group of people who, in all honesty, will never be happy with anything. This is guaranteed to piss those people off. He will do something wrong. He'll likely do everything wrong according to them, and they are going to nail his ass to the wall. It happens every time. You can take that shit to the bank. So to wrap up this video, the rumor is that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios are casting their first transgender character to include in the Disney Plus streaming show Loki. While I do agree that the Disney Plus streaming show is probably the right vehicle to introduce the character in the lore of Heaven and all those elements into the MCU, I do believe there will be a lot of challenges integrating them into the storyline. People are going to be watching Loki to see Loki. They aren't going to be tuning in droves to watch a story about Sera, a character they never heard of, who was introduced in a storyline 99.9% of comic readers don't even know exists, let alone MCU fans, which is an entirely different audience with different expectations. I do believe the vast majority of Disney Plus and MCU fans, even if they have issues with this casting, aren't going to make a stink about it. They're just going to say whatever, and they're going to keep watching their Disney Plus. They're going to keep watching their MCU films. Where Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios are going to have a real issue is if they don't cast exactly the right person and portray them in the exact right light for a very small group of outrage-fueled cause heads that will make their lives a living hell. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.